Welcome back to General Hospital Chronicles, where today's emotional courtroom saga leaves Port Charles reeling with heartbreak, triumph, and the consequences of impossible choices. After weeks of simmering tension and painful revelations, the courtroom battle that captivated the entire community finally reached its emotional climax. At the heart of the case was a question that no mother should ever have to answer. In a fractured family pulled apart by betrayal and desperation, who deserves custody of the children when the home has become a battlefield? The trial centered around Willow, a mother caught in a relentless storm of loyalty, guilt, and unresolved love. Her relationship with Drew, once a source of quiet strength during a time of immense personal loss, had slowly evolved into something more complex and conflicted. As she began to rely on him emotionally, her bond with Michael frayed, and what once looked like a strong, united front now stood divided and under legal scrutiny. The court proceedings began quietly, but underneath the formalities, it was clear that emotions ran deep. Each testimony became a battleground where trust, character, and past actions were scrutinized under an unforgiving lens. Michael, unwavering and focused, painted a picture of a stable, nurturing environment. He argued that his primary concern was the well-being of Wiley and Amelia. Backed by a supportive Corinthos family and a network of witnesses, he emphasized his consistency, his sense of duty, and his refusal to allow personal heartbreak to distract him from his responsibilities as a father. On the other hand, Willow's defense was more emotionally charged. She struggled to explain how her relationship with Drew unfolded and why she began distancing herself from Michael. She spoke about isolation, grief, and seeking comfort from someone who truly listened. But as the questioning intensified, the prosecution zeroed in on one pivotal moment: the night Willow failed to return home after an argument and stayed with Drew, leaving the children with temporary care. This lapse, while momentary, became symbolic of what Michael's legal team argued was a growing pattern of instability. The turning point came when the judge allowed both sides to offer final statements, and the lawyers honed in on one crucial, devastating question. Willow was asked, point blank, who she would prioritize if forced to choose, her children or Drew. The courtroom fell silent. Even the ticking of the wall clock seemed to pause in anticipation. Willow's face, once composed, cracked beneath the pressure. Her eyes darted toward Drew, who sat motionless and tense, then to Michael, who stared at her with silent expectation. Then finally, to the back of the courtroom, where Wiley and Amelia's photos had been displayed during the proceedings. But the words never came. She hesitated. Fumbled. And ultimately, avoided the question altogether. The silence that followed her non-answer spoke louder than anything she could have said. It was as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Her refusal to choose was seen by many as an evasion of responsibility, a failure to affirm the unconditional priority of her children. When Michael was asked the same question, he didn't hesitate. "My children," he stated firmly, his voice steady and without anger. "Always." And in that moment, something shifted. The courtroom, once divided, now leaned heavily in favor of a father who had not just said the right thing, but who had acted consistently in the children's best interest, even when the emotional cost was great. After many days of emotionally grueling testimony, the judge delivered the verdict. The gavel struck with finality, full custody awarded to Michael Corinthos. For Michael, it was a bittersweet victory. There were no cheers or celebrations, only a quiet, tearful embrace with his mother, Carly, and a stoic nod from his father, Sonny. Even as his legal team whispered words of congratulations, Michael's eyes remained fixed on the woman he once called the love of his life, Willow, who now sat silently, visibly crushed beneath the weight of the ruling. Willow's sadness was immediate and overwhelming. She had not only lost custody of her children but also any lingering hope that she could piece her family back together. As she left the courtroom, her shoulders slumped and her eyes hollow, it was clear that the verdict had shattered something deep within her. Drew attempted to console her, but even he knew that the silence between them spoke of something deeper, a fracture that might never fully heal. Outside the courtroom, members of the Corinthos and Quartermain families gathered, exchanging quiet words of support. There was a general sense of relief, but no one could ignore the wreckage left behind. What had started as a fight for guardianship had turned into a deeply personal war of values, character, and unresolved pain. Everyone had been changed by the experience, some emboldened, others broken. Michael returned home that night with Wiley and Amelia, trying to mask his pain with the joy of reunion. He read to them, tucked them in, and promised them safety and love, vows he fully intended to keep. But as he stood in the doorway watching them sleep, a solitary tear slipped down his cheek. He had won the battle, but the war had taken a toll. As for Willow, she vanished from the public eye in the days following the verdict. Rumors swirled that she had checked into a wellness retreat upstate. Others whispered she might leave Port Charles altogether, unable to bear the weight of her own decisions. For now, her future remains uncertain, her silence echoing long after the courtroom had emptied. This verdict was not just about custody, it was about identity, commitment, and what it means to put your children first. And in Port Charles, the reverberations will be felt for a long time to come.